welcome back. Well, I don't know if you can see up here or not. I catch up a little bit. We have done a little bit of work. And when I say we, I mean me. It's been a while. It's been a few weeks since the other section of this video, and I got a lot accomplished. I just didn't have time. I had to come over here little bits at a time trying to work on things. Found a couple other things wrong that I wasn't happy with, and so I did manage to get a J-pipe built. You can see it right here. This J-pipe comes off from my oval exhaust over and up here, a total of about 27 inches. All right, I put a clamp on it so I could adjust it, took it for one drive, and wow, talk about science. Used to, when I'd start the car up over here at the exhaust, it sounded kind of like a tractor. It's a V6. It doesn't have a great sound to it anyway. But now it hardly makes any, has a low little rumble, and it's really, really quiet. I did download the spectrum analyzer on my phone. 2,000 RPM on the highway is about 65 miles an hour. It had a horrendous drone at 140 hertz. So I went online, excuse me, went online, found a calculator, and figured out what I needed. And it said I needed, about a 27-inch long pipe. And that's measured down through the center. So it counts, the curve counts, everything counts. So that's what I did. I made a 27-inch section of pipe with this slip cap. I took a piece of oval, my 3-inch oval exhaust back here for ground clearance. I took it, I cut a section out, and then I have a cone for an exhaust. And I just pounded it until it finally fit. Then I welded on this mandrel bent. I guess that's one of the keys, is it needs to really be a smooth pipe. You don't want a crimped pipe from AutoZone or someplace. Made a huge difference. At 2,000 or 2,300 RPM, cruising from 65 to 75 on the highway, you can hear the exhaust, but it's relatively faint. It made a humongous difference, and it made a difference across the whole spectrum. It didn't just get rid of that horrible drone. It literally would vibrate my eardrum in the driver's seat. The wife didn't seem to notice it as much in the passenger seat, but if I'm going to drive this car 3,000 miles coming in October, it's not going to be pleasant. It wasn't going to be pleasant. Now it's just fine. But in doing this pipe, I noticed my drive shaft, that I had balanced and straightened in Tulsa at a drive shaft shop that I've used before. Excuse me, my sinuses drive me crazy. It had a wobble to it. Somewhere along in here, I'll try to insert. I did a run out test, and I don't know. I mean, you could see it. And it wasn't just the middle of it, because I had kind of hit it on a seat belt and it left a mark on the pipe. And then on this cross member, before I clearanced it, it had made contact with that. So I thought, well, maybe I bent it. But the more I got to looking at it, each U-joint on each end, and on both ends, one cap looked like it stuck out of the U-joint, and the other one was recessed. So it looked like the drive shaft was in there from end to end, kind of doing this number, wah, 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 wah. And so it looked horrible to me. And I said, well, I can't deal with that. And then I was looking at the Boyd-Connington rims. That's another issue I ran into. I bought cheap drums, which worked fine probably. But the Boyd-Connington rims around the lugs, where the lugs go through the rim, it's about 3/16 of an inch before the drum face. And around the very center register on the hub centric area, which this set of rims doesn't match. And I played hell trying to find a set. I got some plastic ones and they're worthless. So you gotta kind of line them up on the lugs anyway. But it only makes contact with that drum around the very center on the register there, and it's kind of got a lip curved in. Then the lug nuts are back away from the surface, and then when you get out to the very inner edge, it's a 9-inch drum, okay, on this car. It's a Jeep Cherokee rear end. The 9-inch drums, the outer section that's flat where your rim can actually touch it, is on the curved part of the Boyd-Connington rim. So you don't even get out to the flat section of the rim, so it's actually on an angle when it's trying to make contact. Plus, the drum, let me go get the drum. I don't know if you'll be able to follow me or not. You might be a little tricky there, but here, let me do that. Let me go over and get the drum. I was going to do that over here on a workbench, but since this has a tracking feature, I thought I'd use it. Here's the drum, okay? It looks like just your average, come over here. Let me rotate this back because we're going to have an issue if I don't. Okay, here's your drum, okay? Here's your drum. And not to mention that this weight on this drum, you probably can't tell it. It's kind of sitting there loose because I popped it off there because it was hitting the rim. So not only did that Boyd-Connington rim hit out here on this little inner edge to try to make it flat, it didn't hit anywhere on this surface here where you would think it would. And then around the lugs, there was nothing. It was hitting right here. And on this drum, you can see that it comes out. It's got a lip that comes out. On the rims, they have a lip that goes in. So that lip that goes in, and you can just barely see where it made contact, and it didn't make that much contact. So it's trying to hold the rim here. It's pushing the outer part of the rim at a weird angle. So it did, the brakes, you could hear, I mean, you don't know if you can tell, but this drum has gotten hot. And when it rolled, you kind of went, and I adjusted the brakes, and it kind of didn't brake weird, but you could never get it to have a constant contact. It was like it was out around. Well, I think the tire bolted on, the rim bolted on, cocked this thing sideways. And so I popped the weights off and tried that, and that helped. And I think I might have tweaked the rims a little, but I went back and bought some. This was a $40, try to save money. I bought some $40 cast iron with the steel insert. So, that's not gonna be the most accurate. Put that up there, whoa. So I went to O'Reilly's and I picked me up a set of $90 drums. They're a one-piece, all cast iron. Beautiful machine surface on the front. That inner register on that drum is bigger. And then the outer piece on the 9-inch circumference, it's flatter and wider. So it hits pretty much on the flat spot now on the rims. So I changed out both brake drums. I was also trying to get my emergency brake foot operated. That's another story. I finally got them where they're both fairly running true. The passenger side has a little bit of a movement on the rim. The drive shaft was horrible. The drive shaft now is beautiful. It was perfect. And I got a shout out to that company, which now I'm trying to remember what the name of it was. I think it's like a Roundy Round company. Oh, right here. Okay. Another little side story. Can you read this here? Got a nice big sticker with my drive shaft. Okay. You get them in two colors, oily or white. Southwest Speed out of Arkansas, which is really close to here. I'll think of the name of the town here in a minute. But I went to the web. I did a Google search for dry shaft because the dry shaft shop I used in Tulsa, they're notoriously running behind because it's just like two guys in the shop. Really nice guys. I'm not knocking them in the least bit. I've had great luck with them for the past literally 30 years. Since the first time I had it arrived. The dry shaft that was in this car was literally out of a Caprice Classic, and I had been banging around my shed for 20 years. So I did a Google search, found this company. I recognize this company, okay? Southwest Speed. All right, so when I buy things online, even if I recognize a company, like Summit, I know Summit, Jegs, all them big companies. This one I've seen through the years, and I associate it with roundy round track, dirt track guys, asphalt guys, not necessarily hot rod or street car stuff, but their name popped up on this dry shaft. And the dry shaft that was in here was a 2 3/4 inch OD tube, which barely fit. All right, and so I was really looking for a 2 3/4, but then I find out that most dry shaft shops recommend anywhere from 40 to, like this one was 58, this company, going up to a 3-inch dry shaft. This isn't a drag car, don't have drag tires on it. It's a cruiser car. I built it to cruise Route 66, so we can run it in October. We're gonna do the Capital Cruise at the end of this month, and hopefully that'll be a good test. Drive to Tulsa. I'll probably go down, the night before and pick up my pack. I'll probably take this car just to see how it runs. I've had it on the highway before. I went to the Blue Whale over in Catoosa last year. Saw Derek Berry from Vice Grip Garage. Great guy. Love watching his content. Him and his Sleeper Dude are probably my two favorites. And then Pole Barn Garage is fairly entertaining. Anyway, this dry shaft company, so I Googled their address, and it literally comes up to a rundown tattoo parlor on the front of a complex of buildings that I would not necessarily call an industrial park. It looked like more like my shop is in my shop is 50% shops and about 50% storage units where I'm at. So I understand that. And so I sent them an email on the contact form online on their website. The website looks good. They have dry shafts. If you need a dry shaft and you need it quickly, they have dry shafts, I believe it's from 27 inches long through 70 inches long for $2.99. You can get them painted white or raw, and I bought the raw, and it's the same price, I believe. They come with 1310 U-joints and a 27 spline yoke. Okay, that's what? Power Glides, 350s, 200s, 700 R4s, 4L60s. So yeah, if you have any of those transmissions, and they have other ones available, and I don't think there's any charge to swap it out. It will take longer to get your dry shaft, because when I got a response from the guy, I said, hey, I Googled your address and it shows you're in a tattoo parlor, and it's a rundown tattoo parlor. So it makes me a little leery. It looks a little fishy to a first-time customer. And very politely, they responded to, well, that's an industrial park, and that's where their mail is delivered, into that industrial park. Then when I Google Earth, and you can look at all the buildings on Google Earth, no sign anywhere for this company. And I'm not knocking them, but it's, it'd be more reassuring if, I could find a big warehouse that at least had a little sign on it that said Southwest Speed, Warehouse 2 or whatever. Anyway, just me being a grumpy old man. But they have dry shafts, and I looked under what they call their 2.5 inch dry shafts, and maybe it was 2 3/4. Anyway, and when I went further into it, and I think I didn't see this, so I went on eBay and looked at their eBay, and it said that the dry shafts change diameters at certain lengths. And I thought, oh shit. Okay, this dry shaft needed to be 85.5 inches. 58.5 inches long, okay? It really could have been about 1/4 or 1/2 inch longer, but then I wouldn't be able to get it into the transmission. And well, I'd be able to get it in the transmission. I wouldn't be able to get it into the yoke back there. So it's fine where it's at. And then, of course, at 58 inches, which is a ½ inch shorter than what I needed, that they had moved up from at 50 or 54. They move up to the 2 3/4, which is the size I wanted. So I kind of got excited. But then I come over and measured my drive shaft, and it was a ½ inch long. So it's actually a 3-inch drive shaft in here now. So I had to do a little more clearancing on my seatbelt bolt over here. And I used the Equalizer 100 on that one, which is a 3/4 inch drive breaker bar and my BFH. And so we moved it, and we have about as much clearance as I did with the smaller one now. I haven't checked it at full rise on the rear suspension, but it was pretty close yesterday, and it was nowhere near the cross member. That's what I was worried about. So Southwest Speed. I keep wanting to say Fort Scott, and that's not right. You know, it's down off of 412 down there going maybe towards Joplin area. It's Fort something. Well, I can't remember those things. Anyway, great company. I got the drive shaft. Literally, I ordered it one evening. I got it 2 days later at noon, laying on my front porch, nicely packed in a box. Beautiful yoke on the end, beautiful welds on each end, nice, new, shiny yoke. It was not installed. I thought it was going to be installed, but it wasn't installed, so I had to install that, and I had to grunt it with because I didn't want to bend the ears on that drive shaft, so it went together fine, though. I had to work at it. And of course, I got one in there, and the little needle bearing fell out and laid down, so once I got together, I had to put it back apart, which is always not fun to do, especially on a brand new U-joint. Anyway, it went together, put it in there, spins nice and true, the wheels are better spinning, and all that was because I was under here working on the J-pipe. So, okay, I'm glad I found that out now, not right before I left for a 3,000-mile trip. I did notice the other issue I was having was with the, let's move a little further over here. Maybe I can see it a little better. I think you can see that when I point up at it. Here's my emergency brake assembly that I built using a stock Rambler cable. I built a little bracket here to come back to my 2 brand new brake cables for the Jeep Cherokee rear end equalizer bar. Nice little bracket here. There's not enough leverage because right now, I mean literally right now, I can pull that cable down a little bit and pull it out a little more, and that is as hard as I can push on that lever in there. So I looked at, well, let's put one of them electric. You know, I didn't want this car to have this much electric doodads on it because I wanted it to be more mechanical. Had it not been it was going to, originally this car was supposed to be a 4.3 liter diesel, Oldsmobile diesel, because I wanted ultimate mileage, but the parts for those motors, I really wanted to do that. I had everything I needed. It just, you know, if a water pump went out, I'd probably never find a water pump if I was out on the road. This one is a Buick, 1999 Buick 3.8 L67 supercharged motor. It would be great if it was normally aspirated, but when I got this motor as cheap as I got it, which I got the whole car for $700, and I got the whole car, and it had 38,000 miles on it. I have to look at the computer again. It's like, that's insane. I mean, I couldn't not use it. So, but, you know, if I get up some hills or something, it's got a ton of power. It's like having a V8 in the car when you need it. And then I was jacking with my line pressures on my 700 R4. The only thing I could get it where it's happy, I can't get full throttle necessarily on the throttle body. I get close. I get over 3/4 throttle, which is enough to make this thing scream under boost. So for durability, I'd rather have it more accurate on the lower end of the scale, because when you pull her down into the gears, the line pressure jumps up. Line pressure moves right off throttle. You know, it's sitting there at 60, 65 pounds at idle. As soon as I start to accelerate it starts moving up. And that's what you want it to do. And it reaches full line pressure you know, when you get to 3/4 throttle. But the geometry is a little off. I've driven it that way for quite a while now. It runs just fine. I thought I'd do some tweaking. I did the governor. I adjusted the governor since the last video. I mean, that was in and out, off the lift, on the lift, governor in, governor out, governor in, governor out. Pulled another governor out of a 700 R4 I have over there. I'm not sure about that one. It did look, after I got looking at the transmission, it looks like it might have been rebuilt, but I got a spare transmission. So anyway, I went back, had changed weights out, and of course, you know, they tell you to make small changes, do one thing at a time. What do? I make 2 big changes. So yeah, I'm a dumbass. I do that all the time. So I ended up going back to 1 stock weight, 1 stock spring for that weight, and then I believe it was on the heavier, the lighter spring, I put a lighter weight and a lighter spring in it. And it was stacking the shifts. It would go first, second, then second, third relatively quickly. So I got those spread out a little better. They're a little bit later shifting. I had it working perfect, except under wide open throttle, it shifted over 6 grand. Which, man, this thing was flying, let me tell you. When you open it up, it's really kind of impressive for a little V6. So I didn't really want that. I'm not trying to drag race it. I want it to be reliable. I want to be able to cruise down the highway, not burn the transmission up. So I got that set where I'm pretty confident. If I have any more issues with it, I'm going to get a 4L60, which I hate adding more electronics. I guess started this rant about the emergency brake, because I know they make those electric E actuators. And I thought, man, that'd be really cool. But I want a good emergency brake. If we go to California, you know, go somewhere you park on a hill. I hate putting all that pressure on the transmissions, and you know, and the way of the car and pushing it, and it, you know, messes with the mounts and everything else. So I don't even want to mess with it. So my goal was try not to have all these electronics. You know, if I had a diesel in there with a manual operated transmission, I'd never worry about full throttle, because anything over half throttle on a diesel is a waste of foot movement. Excuse me. That was a quick trip breakfast burrito, kind of coming back to haunt me. Anyway, so, you know, they're $500+, you know, and there's a cheaper one, about $489 through, I think it was Speedway, and it comes with a nice little box and all this. And so I just decided, well, no, let me Google linear actuators, but that's what they use in them. And I found a company about $150, and they had a linear actuator with the 600-pound pull that the one company said that their actuator, you know, it's probably $200 to my door. Well, that's, you know, half price, well under half price. And then I looked over, and there's the old Amazon. There's marine grade, weather rated, waterproof linear actuator with 300 pounds of pull. Now, the couple of the cheaper units I saw for the emergency brakes, they were 200, 250 pound pull on the emergency brake cable. And of course, then I Googled it, and Google says, you know, you need 40 pounds or something on the cable or something stupid. And I think that doesn't sound like enough. And I know there's levers and levers and whatever else. So I thought, well, let me get that 300 actuator from Amazon. It's supposed to be here later today, and I might do another little video after I get here, but I might go ahead and try to adapt my bracket, but I don't think it'll be that difficult. Plus, side note, this emergency brake cable comes out, and it runs out here, and it runs into where the tire's at. And every time I turn left over just a slight turn, the tread rubs the cable. And the cable was pinned back, but the cable's so old now that if you try to pin it back, it tightens it makes that cable a little sticky. So I thought, you know what? If I could get rid of that Then I got one more electronic thing in here with the switch, and amazingly, the actuator that I bought was I think $47, and it comes with a reversing polarity switch, momentary toggle, 2 ons, center off. So, and it was $47, 300-pound pull. You know, as long as it works, if I can mount it here and get 300 pounds of pull, that's 150 pounds of pull on each brake cable, I think that would be sufficient to at least set the brake where it's not going to roll. Now, it maybe not hold against the motor, but that's fine. I just don't want it to roll away on a hill or incline. I want to be able to hold the car, put no stress on the transmission. So we're going to get that. We're going to get rid of this cable, then I don't have the rubbing issue. So that's kind of a recap of what y'all missed from when I stopped the video the other day, well, which is now 2 weeks ago, maybe 3. And then I found these other issues, so I got sidetracked on these other issues. Like I said, drive shaft, beautiful. Got clearance, J-pipe. If you guys have a drone on your car, do some Googling. And of course, if you have round pipe, it'll be a hell of a lot easier for you, because I had to transition an oval, 3-inch oval pipe, but this is a 3-inch oval super turbo muffler. And it's all mandrel bent everywhere. Even on the flats over here, these 2 flats on this oval pipe, that's all mandrel bent all the way out the side. Very happy with it. Another thing I ended up getting accomplished was, let me turn that off. Let me, I don't know if I can get, I think you can see that here. Let me turn you around. All right. Okay, let me turn you around. I had that big rust hole here, and well, see, I don't use this camera much. Okay, see that black? Right here you go. That right there. And I got to clean this off up here, and I'm going to take a piece of metal here and down and over and clean that up. But I welded in some structural metal here because this was all rotted out. It's supposed to look like this side. See this area right here? This was all gone over there. I mean, it was there to about here, but all this in here was gone. This one's in relatively good shape other than an owie. And I got an owie over here on this. They must have bottomed out at one time. But over here, it was terrible looking. I did leave, I don't know if you can see it. Okay, where did it go? You look over there, see a triangular opening. I'm going to leave that there in case any water gets in there, where at least it can run out. But I didn't really put a drain plug here in the front. But there's another hole out here in the fender well I got to try to get to, which I don't think you can see it. So that was another thing I was trying to do. I think that's it for show and tell here. But we'll take a look at that dry shaft. Look at that. I mean, that's pretty nice dry shaft there. Fit in there good. I mean, she gets close. Watch out for that light. That light's kind of a pain in the ass, I know. Let me come back down, see if we can see up in there. Oh, she gets close up in there. Yeah, can you see the bolt? Yeah. So now, right now, it looks great. But if you look at that when you lower the car, I click back on my mug here. There we go. Well, I never used that active track. It seems to work pretty good if you want to stare at my freaking face all day, which I'm sure you don't. So today, on the goal for today is we're going to look at the windshield washer, which it doesn't have. I bought one of the old school looking bag type, thinking, oh, I could just hang that somewhere inside the engine compartment. No. No place. There was a place, but it's like right over the exhaust in the back where I'm thinking, you know, that's probably going to be a hot corner under there. And, you know, I don't need to boil or melt the bag and have a fire under the hood. So I measured up by the battery and all the electronics, which I really didn't want to put it there. But so I bought a little generic washer squirter bottle and pump and everything. I believe it's for UTVs. But then, of course, once you buy something, and there's this Kimi Moto. Anybody used that before? No, just box here. But just a little spray washer. I also probably want to pull the, it's got a vacuum wiper on it, which underneath, I don't think you can see it from under here. Underneath the battery, very well hidden, is a Summit vacuum reserve canister and then a vacuum pump from a Cadillac, electric vacuum pump. I believe it's emissions, maybe. Maybe it's a Camaro. I don't remember now, but some people use them for evac systems and other things. I'm using it to, maybe it's just a generic vacuum pump from a Volvo or something. It's a vacuum pump, and that's what it's designed to do. So I'm going to hook that, and I'm hoping that by itself it will run it. And if not, I'm going to tee in the vacuum off the motor and have a one-way check valve, so when it goes under boost, you know, you don't want to blow your wipers apart. So I'm hoping that the electric pump by itself will work. That way I don't have to jack with doing anything with the vacuum off the motor. I do have an electric motor that I want to just see if the vacuum one will work. And if I can't get it to work like I want it to, I've got an alternate electric one that I'm going to try to adapt before we leave in October. If the vacuum one works, we're going to leave it alone. We're going to run with it. Of course, the vacuum pump is hooked to the old, I think it's the old heater blower switch. So in order to use the wipers, I have to turn on the wipers and the vacuum pump. Not that big a deal because the wipers have a cable operation, so there's no electric to them, but they're vacuum. Got a little slider on top of it. And I tell you what, the hard part, let's jump back to the drum brakes. If you guys are, drum brake. If you have a 9-inch drum brake, here's a public service, a PSA. Here's a PSA. I'm not affiliated with any of the companies I mentioned. This is just my recommendation. If you have a 9-inch brake car and you're going to buy a steel wheel and you have 9-inch drums, just be mindful of that weird, because I was looking at the other steel wheels available from the big box stores, and not just Boyd Coddington, but you got all the other brands. Now the Roundy Round brands with the like the D holes in them, I think they have a flat surface. They'd probably be okay. But these Boyd Coddingtons, they had a little chrome moon hubcap for them, come with it. Boyd Coddington will probably roll over in his grave knowing that he's got Chinese wheels running around, or Taiwanese, whatever these are. They're a heavy wheel. I'm not knocking the wheels. They got a nice powder coating. They just don't fit a 9-inch drum for crap. So if you got a 10-inch drum, it would probably be better. At least I'd hope it would be better. But boy, I would not buy these. If I was going to buy rims again, I would not buy these. I just didn't want, I wanted just steel rims on. I don't want aluminum rims on the car. It ruins the look of the car. It's not beneficial in any way. Just be mindful of that. And if you're going to buy drums, buy the good ones. I mean, you're talking, especially on a car, this car has 4 drum brakes. You probably want to buy good ones all the way around. I still have the cheap ones on the front, but this is still a Rambler brakes on the front. It's whatever Rambler. And on the front, the drums dish in on a Rambler. These rims would never fit without spacers behind them. These have 1/4-inch spacers behind it because the drum face sucks in and the outer part sticks out. And so it's recessed. You know, most drums are flush or stick out a little bit. This is just the opposite. So good thing I had those before. I really didn't want to have to run them again, but it doesn't hurt the offset. In fact, it makes it look closer to the back, so it looks nicer. And it doesn't rub anywhere. As far as fenders go, even at lower air, it's that stupid cable. It hits that cable pretty easy all the time. Left turns. So just a little announcement on that. I believe that's it. I've been rambling. It's going to be time to reset everything where we can do some work. So I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.